Hi, welcome to How Economics Affect Demand and Supply. I'm your speaker Roy Slim and I'll be guiding you through this whole entire presentation. So here's our table of contents, which is first of all how consumption tax impacts the market. Secondly, the impact of tax on imports. Third, how generative AI could affect inequality in the labor market. Fourth, how generative AI affects productivity output in the economy. Fifth, how to utilize economics. And lastly, my references and the end of my slides. So now this is the first point, which is how consumption taxes impacts the market. So as you can see here, once the tax is introduced, the demand curve shifts to the left, a dead loss is created, and there are two new prices as you can see, one with tax and one without tax. Then on the left side is the equilibrium tax, followed by consumer surplus, producer surplus, government tax, and net surplus. So highlighted in red is dead loss. So why are the demand curve shift left? This is due to the new introduction of the consumption tax. So this creates a new equilibrium at P1 and Q1. From this shows that P1 is a price set without tax for producers to set their product prices at. So when this new equilibrium is created, a deadweight loss is also created. It is seen as E plus F, which is surplus of equilibrium deducted from surplus of tax. So the P1 plus tax represents the price set by producers as they are required to introduce the tax to the price of the products. So this means that with the introduction of the tax, this causes consumers' welfare to be lost, as consumers are required to pay more and the quantity that they buy is less, causing demand to increase while forcing producers to increase the price, and this prevents them from making any sales. So this also producer welfare too. And also, I mentioned before, deadweight loss also helps to allow the government to create revenue for them. Okay, so now we come to slide 2, which is impact of tax on imports. So as you can see here, there's three supply curves. One is domestic, one is free trade, and one is tariff. And to the left, you can see the equilibrium and tax with the consumer surplus, producer surplus, revenue for foreign sellers, and net surplus. And in the graph, you can also see highlighted in red the deadweight loss, which is G and J. And lastly, in the graph itself, you can see the imports with tariff and imports without tariff. So when a tax on imports is introduced, the supply curve moves to the left from supply free trade. So the reason why the supply free trade is because originally supply bracket domestic means that there is supply domestic is based on purely the country itself. However, when the free trade is introduced or the market open, it becomes supply free trade. Then once a tax on imports is introduced, it becomes supply with tariffs. So it moves to the left. So there's 2 points of new equilibriums, QD and P1 at supply with free trade, and QD1 and P2, which is our new equilibrium for supply with tariffs. As mentioned before, deadweight loss is G and J, implemented by the government for the tariffs. Then after that, so this causes consumer welfare to be lost since consumers have to pay more and the quantity they buy is less. Domestic producers gain as now they can sell more, however they can sell less abroad. So foreign producers lose since the amount they sell in the local domestic country falls. So there is a welfare loss on both sides since total sales are down and there's inefficient producers that increase production. And as mentioned before also, the government also generates revenue from these tariffs. So what is the difference in the deadweight loss between tariffs and taxes? So for taxes and tariffs, they both earn revenue for the government whenever it's implemented. However, for taxes, it impacts only local consumers and producers. However, for tariffs, they only impact local consumers and foreign producers. So this means for taxes, whenever a tax is introduced, so basically our producers have to charge at a higher price, and this will cause them to make less revenue. And in return, with the higher price, we local consumers will actually purchase less of the products, and this in turn will create both producer and consumer welfare loss. Then for tariffs, similarly, it impacts local consumers. However, it only affects foreign producers. Since similarly, we will not want to buy at a higher price from these foreign producers, and at the same time, they will be more discouraged to import their products into Singapore or a domestic country. Now it is our third slide, which is how generative AI could affect inequality in the labor market. So generative AI reduces equality. So if this happens, This means the demand curve will shift to the right, since that now the generative AI will be considered as a skill set, and this means that there will be higher wages and employment, so creating a new equilibrium at P1 and Q1. So if generative AI causes increases in inequality, this will cause the demand for labor to decrease and causing the demand curve to shift to the left. So this means that generative AI will not be considered as a skill set, and this will create wage polarization where people can lose their jobs, and it creates more inequality. And this will also create a new equilibrium at P1 and Q1. Next up is slide number 4, how generative AI could affect productivity and output in the economy. So when generative AI helps to boost productivity, the aggregate demands will shift to the right. This means that more people are using generative AI. Then after that, the short-run aggregate supply, which is SRAS, moves to the right also, due to the fact that more companies value this generative AI as being useful in the company. This in terms helps to move the LRAS to the right too, which is the long-run aggregate supply, and this will help to boost productivity and output in the whole entire economy itself. However, inversely, if the generative AI prevents productivity and output from being boosted, this means the demand curve will shift to the right, as people will still use generative AI in their work or school or whatever. However, the short-run aggregate supply will shift to the left instead, as companies will view this as either being lazy or being not useful in the company. Therefore, you create the LRS will stay at the same point. However, the price will still increase, but this prevents the economy and from being improved, and this prevents also generative AI from helping to increase productivity output in the economy itself. My last slide for my topics are why people still choose unhealthy food options. So with extensive research, we have found 4 factors on why people still prefer unhealthy food options, even if there was a change available. So there are present bias, social norms and influences, habit formation, and lastly, emotional eating. So for present bias, takeout food is unhealthy is very common nowadays. This is because these foods are meant to be taste focused, which are normally processed, and these contain additives and preservatives that are very harmful to our health, and they are added into this takeout food. And these foods are high in calories, are addictive to the sugar, fat, and salt, thus making us healthier. Next up is social norms and influences. In a society, their choices and behaviors are influenced by cultural norms. Junk food and fast food companies have become part of our everyday life, preventing us from avoiding it. In addition, they have influenced the social norms that eating unhealthy food is a norm, and that to consume healthy food is unrealistic. Example, longer preparation time, cost more, and also more expensive to prepare. Next is habit formation, which is basically junk food contains sugar and contains a lot of calories. So this means that a lot of trans and saturated fat are contained in this food. In addition, they have very little vitamins, minerals, and fiber. This causes deep fried food to have better taste than normal healthy foods. And as we get older, it will cause us to have preference of these deep fried foods. So by consuming such food, our brain releases dopamine and oxytocin, a form of chemical in our brain, which promotes this feeling of relaxation, pleasure, and enjoyment in a person, thus making them enjoy comfort food. And lastly, which leads to the next part also, is emotional eating. When we are stressed, we produce a hormone called cortisol, and it increases the sugar content in the blood so that the body cells can use the energy to produce more protein, fat, and carbohydrate metabolism. Furthermore, it will cause us to increase our hunger and make us prefer food that are high in sugar, fats, and carbohydrates, which is, for example, takeout food and also junk food also. So therefore, regardless of options, people will still choose the unhealthier food options. So next time my references, and after that will be my thank you slide. So my references are from Trifecta, Being Bridget, and also Science ABC. So thank you for your time, and hopefully that you'll be able to take away key points and see how economics and people perception affect the daily market. Thank you.